Hello,
Hello.
how are you?
I'm good.
It started in Iran. They started bombarding Iran.
What's that?
They started bombing Iran.
What?
Yeah,
Really?
I get, and the Arabs say that Israel is bombing Iraq, Syria, and Iran at the same time.
Okay, I don't see anything.
Not in CNN, you'll see it in the Israeli
I'm
news.
looking, yeah, I'm looking for the Israeli news. Yeah.
In the cities, the explosions are in the cities of Isfahan and Tanis in central Iran, both of which are important facilities for Iran's nuclear weapons. And there's some photos of explosions in Iran.
You
But
see
I
it?
don't.
Where are you
No,
looking?
it's only one like this.
Oh,
And the same thing. Shit. So all this that America and Europe is asking Israel to restrain, it's just for the public to consume.
right.
They all know because Israel would not make a move like this without telling the allies.
Of course.
Did you find it?
It says Iranian channel reports Israeli strike in southern Syria.
Oh, and where did you see that? In
It's
CNN?
on the Israel National News.
Oh, I
That's
get
all I
the,
see.
I get the,
A radar base was attacked, but that's all I see. I don't see anything
I,
else.
I get Israel Live News. It's a link at WhatsApp. But the thing is,
Oh,
every minute
something new. Ernie
is a
will know.
thing.
I'm
Is a
sure Ernie
thing
will
if he shows up.
know.
But at least you're here today because yesterday, who else is here? Oh, Abe.
Oh, Abe is here.
How are you, Abe?
Baruch Hashem, how are you?
Good, good.
So they say
Trying to,
there's some explosions that have been reported in the last minutes near the cities of
yeah.
Isfahan and
Oh, so you get the same
yeah, it's
messages.
Israel Live News.
Israel Live News. Yes.
All right. Okay, it's a good thing Rabbi Shalom is on our side.
Yes.
I knew they were going to do it today, tonight, because for them, it's the Shabbos, right? Already, Friday.
Friday.
But for them, it's Friday is the Shabbos, the Muslim Shabbos,
Right. Oh, yeah.
Friday. So let them bend down and on the little carpets.
But they're all over the place. The IDF's all over there. Hebron, there's Ham, there's Gaza. Unbelievable.
Oh, that is it. Okay.
Okay. Ay, ay, ay.
We are on 49, Mem Tes.
Correct.
MTS.
Elamashkon to Noket Leilamali. Isn't the collateral given to ensure that he's going to pay back? So what does it mean that the Shemitah is Eno Meshamet? Elalashmain and minor Shamit Kabrav Eno Meshamet Bekulo. Shemitah, let's say the loan was for $1,000, the collateral is only $500 worth. It means the Shemitah only wipes away the $500 part of the loan that doesn't have collateral against it. excuse me, Reb Shimon says the whole loan is not wiped away. The part that is wiped away is the part that didn't have collateral. And what's the machlokas? What's the fundamental machlokas? Even having a mashkin on part of it sort of acquires the whole. Rabbi Yehuda is sort of connected to hukoin. Is that what the machlokas is? More says low. My just the opposite. The Eina Mashamik goes on the part that is collateralized. According to Rabbi Yehuda, everything gets wiped away, even the part of the loan that has a mashkon against it. So why give a mashkon? What did that accomplish? There's a promise been made that the debt will be paid. The mashkon sort of reminds the parties of that, but it doesn't really create We are on, Kenny, we are Memtes, Ahmed Aleph, a little bit Rav Kahana, a little bit down from the top of the page. Rav Kahana Yavule Zizi Akitna. Rav Kahana made money for cotton, for flax. L'sofi Yakar Kitna. Excuse me, Rav Kahana was the seller of flax, and he was given money to buy it. Now we've learned this whole machlokas, is money kona or money not kona. So Rav Kahana was of the opinion that money is not kona. And what he did, he didn't want to sell the flax at $1 a pound. He wants to sell $5. He wanted to go back on the deal because now he can get $5 a pound instead of $1 a pound. And since the one party giving money, it's not koina really, unless he does mashicha. Rav Kahana can get out of the deal. However, we have the klal of the mishapara. If someone gave money and you had an agreement, and you go back on your agreement, you're going to be subject to the klal of mishapara. Also, Rav. So they brought Rav Kahana to din, or Rav Kahana asked, do I have a right to get out of the deal? So Amarle b'may denokid zuzi havlu. So they wanted to buy $1,000 of flax. They only gave him $100, maybe a payment or whatever. Rav told him you have to give him the amount of linen that they gave you money for. The idich, the fact that you make a deal on more, that's dvarim ninu. That's just a promise. Dvarim, somebody goes back on that. That's not like you haven't done something that's untrustworthy. Because no kinyan was made on the other part. Diitma. Dvarim. I mean, Walter can tell us how this works in his business, but classically, they would say mazalu bracha, that's dvarim, right? They would shake hands. There's no kinyan made. So Rav says, if you go back on it, ein be'en mishum echsar amana. There's no lack of trust. You haven't broken anything. If a party goes back, the price over the weekend of diamonds goes from 2,000 a carat to 10,000 a carat. And they made a deal on Friday. So he wants to go back in it on Sunday because on Monday he can get 10,000 a carat. According to Rav, it's not a problem. Let's see how the Shulchan Aruch paskin. Well, let's see what the machlokes is. Rav Yochanan yesh be misur mechsar. So Meisvei. I'll ask you. So Rav Yochanan holds if the guy goes back on the deal, he's He's not correct.
Is mechusre emuna the same thing as mishapara?
Not yet. We haven't, the Gemara hasn't said that yet, right? The Gemara has used a different language. If it said that, Rav, if it meant what you just said, Rav should have said. On the remainder, be separate from what the guy gave money for, there's no mishapara. Remember, the whole mishapara was when you gave, here Rav is saying that the giving the money is a kinyan, and therefore that part you have to give it. So it's different than the mishapara. The mishapara is someone who gives money, and then the guy gives the guy's money back because he doesn't want to sell the item to him because it's gone up in price. So I think it's different, but Rav Yochanan holds you are a mechusar amana. So meisvei. Rav Yochanan ma tamud loymar. It says in Vayikra, hin tzedek ve'efat tzedek yelachem. V'halo hin bichlal efa haya. Hin is a smaller measurement. So why do you have to say also efa? Loy melacha sheyeh hein shelchat tzedek v'lav shelchat tzedek, because the Torah used the word hin, which is a measurement, but there's a midrashic drasha learned here. Hin is darshaned as hein. Hein is yes, lav is no. So your hein, your yes, should be yes, and you shouldn't go back on it. It's a mitzvah to be makayim what you promised. So that's a kasha on Rav. On Rabaya, this is a very interesting answer. When you say something, and in your heart you shouldn't be thinking something else. Your mouth and heart should be the same, which means on Friday, when the guy made Mazel Bracha, that's what he wanted to do. Now the circumstances changed on Sunday. The price of diamonds shot up for whatever reason. There was a war in Russia, and now that's not a problem of Yidaber Echad B'Pevach B'Lev because the circumstances have changed. Aval. Period. So Abai will say that at the time that when Rav says there's no mechusar amona because the circumstances change. Meisvei. Rav Shimon Rav Pishamru Talus Koine dinner. So we've learned this that if you do Mashicha on the garment, then the guy acquires the Zav. But ain't dinner Zav Koine Talus. If you give the money, there's no kinyan. And therefore the guy doesn't have to sell it to you. But mikomakom kachal and mikomakom kachalocha, and that's mikra din aval omru. That if the guy gave the dinner zav, you should give him the talis because mishapar man shadar mabul man shadar flaga who ultimately par mishena oimibitibur. You agreed to sell him the talis for the dinner zav, which seems to imply that in any situation, even if the facts on the ground have changed, if you go back on it, you're chisar namuna. So the Gemara says tanoihi. This issue is machloek is tanoim, and we know Rav is a tanahu pali, or Rav follows the tana that holds that if the circumstances change, it's not considered that you're not an emistic person. What's the machloek is tanoim? Ma'aser Rav Yochanan ben Masi Shama livno. Say u'schorlanu poalim. Go and hire us workers. Now, when you hire workers, you have to give them the conditions on their breaks, how much lunch, who's going to pay for the lunch. So give them the range, and the son, set up some kind of mezonos arrangement, but he didn't detail it. Shabaytzel Aviv, when they came back home, and the son met with the father, Amrlo, because you didn't stipulate what you're going to give them, even if you give them like the suit that Shlomo Melech used to give, it's not enough. Based on their kavod, they're all sons of kings. So he told him, before they start working, save him more lamb. Go and tell them that that which you said, I'm going to provide mizonos. I'm going to give you bread and hummus, which was the standard food for the workers. Now, that if you go back on what you said, there's lack of trust. So how come Rav Yochanan ben Masya instructed his son to go back on what he said? So shiny hasam, the poalim gufaylo samcha detayu. The workers didn't, when he said mizonos, they didn't have in mind anything. My time, because first of all, made a yodadal avusam. What the son said, they didn't rely on. They knew it was going to be up to the father. Iachi, afilu schilubim lochanami. So what do you mean? When the father told the son to go before they start working, give them some kind of deal, they're not soymech on that because they know it's up to the father. What's the difference whether they started or didn't start? So if the Gemara answers him, they'll rely on what he said. Because he said it in front of his father, and the father was happy. So the Shulchan Aruch in Choshen Mishpat paskins, Hanose v'nosem b'dvorim bilvad. Two business people reach a deal by words only. There's no kinyan. Avshaloi nosen mos, even though he didn't give him some money for consideration. Oh, he niach mashko, or he didn't give him a collateral. Roy lo la'amod b'dvaro. The guy who agreed to the deal should stand by his word. Like Rav Yochanan. It doesn't say he has the klal of the Mishapara, but the Chachamim are not happy with him, and he's considered not a person, not a trustworthy person. The Ramosha says that if the price has changed since they made the deal, then the guy goes back on the deal. He's not a mechusri amona. He quotes the Rosh and the Tur agree with him. The Ramban and the Rashba don't agree. The Aruch HaShulchan was machriya that if the price went up and the guy goes back on his promise, he's not a chosr, but he's not a chosr emunah. But as a midas chasidus, if he goes through with the deal, he's considered a chosr. That's the halacha on those issues. Rabbi Yochanan Hachi comes out. We said the machlokes Rav and Rabbi Yochanan. Rabbi Yochanan held that if you go back on your word, you have lack of trust. I say to my friend, I'm going to give you a gift. Yachal, but I can go back on it. So first of all, what do you mean yachal? Pshita. You can't force somebody to give somebody a gift. Muter lachzer, but means it's permitted for him to go back. So dvarim, going back on your word is not, according to Rabbi Yochanan, not problematic. But if you say you're going to give him a small gift, then you have to give it, because people rely that you're going to give it. A big gift, people know that he might get poor, and he could go back on it. Achanami mistavra. Shomer v'am Rav Yochanan, Yisrael shomer ben Levi. Kur ma'aser yesh l'cha biyadi. A Yisrael farmer separates produce, and he gives a kur to a certain Levi. So that Levi ben Levi Rishai la soy soy the trumas ma'aser mokom acher. Now, a Levi also has to give truma from his meiser to the kohen. So he can designate that. The guy just said, I'm giving it to you. I'm going to give it to you. I haven't given it to you yet, but I'm going to give it to you. He can rely on his friend's statement that he's going to give it to him. Can rely on that haftacha, that he's not going to go back on his word. And therefore he can designate that as truma. Now, if we hold that the person who made a promise can't go back on his word, he can go that way. He can use that which is going to be gifted to him as truma. If the gifter can go back on the deal, then amai rishai. Why would he be allowed to use that stuff for his truma? He's going to have to be eating tevel, because it's not, if the guy changes his mind and doesn't give that produce, then really there was no trumas meiser given. Was taken from the guy and given actually to the Levi. Nasal ben Levi acher. If he gave it to another Levi, ein lo alav ela tarumis. That means if the original gifter decided to give it somebody else, he only has complaints. He doesn't have a legal case to take him to Besdin. Now, if he already gave it to him, am I ein lo alav ela tarumis? He took away somebody he gave to him. Right? Kivan demashke b'moni islay he did Mashiach, it's his. And he didn't take it. And therefore, Shmamina, it's just a promise. We see from here that a promise is a promise. And if you don't carry it out, it's lack of chisar and amunah. That's probably why the poiskim, the Shulchan Aruch paskin, because the end of this sugya ends up Shmamina. Ahu Gavra, the Yoiv Zuzi Ashum Shumi. He gave money to buy sesames. And then, after that happened, the sesame price went up. Hadrubuhu, the guy who sold it to him, wanted to give him his money back and said, we never sold you. We want to go back on the deal. We don't have any sesame seeds. Take your money back. And before they could give the money back, it was stolen. Also committed Rava. So Rava said to the purchaser who had given the money, they told you take your money back, and you didn't take it. He doesn't have, you're out your money. Because not only are they not a shomer sarcha, because they said, go take it back. You delayed, you were lazy, didn't do it. It's on your head. The guy went back on the deal. What about the Misha Para? Doesn't he get the klala? Al-Machanami. Yeah, he gets the klala because he didn't go through the deal even though money was given to him. But he doesn't have to watch it anymore because he told the guy, take it. Take your money back. He gets the klala. But on the other din of the Gneva, they're not responsible for it. Arra Papi Amar Ravina. Lididi Amr Liyaum Rabbanan Rav Tovish Shmei. One of the Chachamim told me, and it was Rav Tovis. The Amila, some say Rav Shmuel Bar Zutra Shmei, that was his name. The Ihavi Yavile Kol Chalal the Amalavi Kamashani B'Dupur. If he would have given all the money in the world, he wouldn't have gone back. He wouldn't change the deal he made. That means his word was gold. He tells of the case that it was Erev Shabbos Ben Hashmoshes. Some guy came to my house and my door. Amarli, do you have sesames to sell? Amarli lo. He says no. Amarli, so the guy had money with him, and he didn't want to carry it on Shabbos. He said, take my money and watch it as a pikadon. Arbele, habesa kamech. What do you mean? Your house is right across the street. Go put it there. Uzvina bevesa ve'igna. I'm sorry. He accepted it to be taken in his bites. He said, "Abesa kamach, my house is yours." And then uzvina bebeita ve'igna. It was put in the house and was stolen. Also, kameh to Rav. They call habesa kamech. The phrase, "My house is yours," it doesn't create a shomer sachar. He didn't accept responsibilities. Listen, you want to put it, put it. But he didn't say, okay, I'll be a shomer on it. I'm relay, so Ravina said to Rav Tovis, what about the Mishapara? No, it never. This case never occurred. So the halacha is if you say here's my house, you're a shomer chinam. But if he just says here it is in front of you, or put it down without detailing that he's not a shomer chinam, he's not chayv shvu if it gets stolen or anything. Reb Shimon Oimer, whoever has the money is in a better legal status. Tanya, on Reb Shimon, that we're talking about. The Mishnah talks about a seller who's been given money, but he hasn't given the produce yet. So Reb Shimon said he has the power to do whatever he wants. Once he can give the money back and not sell the pears. And that's if the money and the pears are still in his hands. But if the money was given already and the buyer took possession of the pears, then just because he has money in his hand doesn't mean he can go back on it. So what do you mean biyad? What do you mean biyado? You're describing a case where it's in the hands of the seller. What do you mean pshita? He made meshicha, so of course the other guy's the money. The buyer of the grain has an attic, and it's leased to the seller of the wheat, and the wheat was there. So time of my tiknu rabbanan meshicha. Why did Chacham make a din meshicha for a buyer to take possession? Because we're concerned that those goods will be in the attic of the seller, and the seller won't watch it carefully. But here we said the attic really belongs to the buyer of the goods, so it's in his rishus already. Enough for Jacob Oinus. If a fire breaks out, he's going to take care of it. Person paid money for wine. He was like the officer of the king. Oh, I guess this officer was he needed the money because he had to entertain this officer. So he wanted to get his money back from the wine cellar. Since the buyer didn't do Mashiach on the wine, he can go back on it. Mishnah. Ha'onah. Onah is overcharging or undercharging. How much is it? Arba kesef may esrim ba'arba kesef l'sela. It's a sixth, 4 out of 24. Shasus lemeka. So admosai mutter lo lachzir. Ad kidei sheyira letager or lekrovo. He has to have the time to show the object that he bought to his relative or to another seller. That means if he was overcharged more than a sixth, you have a time frame to at least show the item. But beyond that, if you delayed beyond that, you won't be able to get your money back. Because we assume you were moichel. Hoyer of Tarfon Belud, ha'onah shmona kesef mesrim va'arba kesef l'sel. 8 out of 24, it's a third, shlish lemet. The samcha tagrilud, of course, it allowed the tagrilud to make more profit. And that going back on a deal would be harder. It would be. Amar lahem, but kol hayom mutter lachzor. But he extended the period of time by which the buyers could go back on their deal. From Kidei Sheyira. Amar lo yaniach lanu Rav Tarfon komenu. So they said, Rav Tarfon, keep the sixth. That's the mission. Itmar. Rav Amar shtus mekach shaninu. You look at the object. You looked at the value of the object. It's not just the object, but the money paid. So what's the machlokes ketzah? Shavi shisa b'chamsa. Something that was worth 6 was sold for 5. Or shavi shusa b'shiva. Or something that was worth 6 was sold for 7. We go after this, that it's considered onah. Ki pligi shavichimsha b'shisa. Something that was worth 5 was sold for 6. Or shavi shiva b'shisa. Something worth 7 sold for 6. L'shmuel damar basamosas linon. According to Shmuel, we look at the money. I know of. There's, in each case, the difference of a sixth based on the kesef that was paid. The Rav, Damar Basar Mekach Haslina, Shavi Chamsha B'Shisa, is 25% Bitul Mekach Havya. It's more than a sixth. And Shavi Shiva B'Shisa is less. So there's no Umachla Havya. When do we say the guy was moichel, or the opposite, bittul mekach, heicha the lekach shtus mishneit study. It has to be a 6 both on the money paid and the value of the object. Aval heicha the heicha shtus mitzad echad, even if there's a 6, even on one side, either money or object, or no. Now, let's bring proof. It's not. Ha'ono, arba kesef mesim v'arba kesef l'sel, shtus l'meka. My love, the Zavin, he bought Dover Shavi Esrim be'esra v'arba. He bought something that was worth 24. And obviously, money that was paid was a 6, and we're holding like Shmuel. Low. He bought something worth 24 for 20. So minasana. So who was cheaped out? The seller. Masai mutter lachsir. How long do you have in order to return the item if you think that you've been overcharged? You need time to show it to your relative. So Amrav not loikeach. That's the purchaser. Since he has it, he can go show it. He doesn't have the object anymore. He can't show it. If another object shows up, he'll be able to understand its true price. And if he was, misled based on the value, he can always go back. The guy sold something that was esrim v'arba be'esrim v'tamnei, something that was worth 24 and he sold it for 28. Tanan, Hoyrav Tarfin Balud, Oynosh Moni Kesef Mesrim V'arba Kesef L'Sela. 8 out of 24, Shlish L'Mekach. My love, the Zavin Shavi Shitzri, he sold something worth 16, Be'esrim v'arba, for 24, Shmamina, he Shlish Mos Nami Shanim. Again, it looks like it's a money deal like Shmuel. No, the Zavin Shavi Esrim V'arba B'Shitzer. He sold something worth 24 for 16. So Minasane, who was cheated here? The Moicher, the seller. Ema Sefer, Amr Lehem. Kol hayom mutar lachzor. Rav Tarfon told the shopkeepers of Lod that the buyers have all day. Amr Rav Nachman lo yishar lokecha v'moicher lo olam chayzer. So we mean all day. Ela de Zavin Esrim v'arba b'tlosim v'train. He sold something that was worth 24 for 32. Tank of us the Shmuel. There's a price of sport Shmuel Mishu to Lav Yoda Lal Yona. The one that was cheated, he has the upper hand. Ketsa. Machalo Shava Chamisha B'Shisha. A seller sold something that was worth 5 for 6. Minasan and Lokeach. The buyer overcharged. So Yad Lokeach Alal Yona. Rotzov, the Lokeach wants, can say Tenli Mo, so give me my money. Or Tenli Mashonasi. Or give me the difference. Let's stop here and we'll learn, both tomorrow. Because it's late. I haven't eaten dinner. And
What time tomorrow?
tomorrow, let's learn at 4:30.
Very good. Night.
Good night, everybody.
Night.
Good night, Shkoyach.
Night, Walter.
Good night.